The pot roast sits untouched on my mother's floral-edged plate, a reminder of countless Sunday dinners just like this one. I breathe in the familiar aroma of carrots and onions, letting my fingers drift over the worn oak grain of the dining table. Everything in this room is exactly as it's always been: the yellowed lace curtains, the outdated wallpaper, the china cabinet displaying my mother's precious collectibles. I adjust my watch, a simple Cartier that would make my father scoff if he knew its value, and clear my throat. The investment round closed yesterday. 8.3 million. Dad's fork scrapes against his plate, his eyes fixed on his pot roast. Mom smooths her napkin, avoiding my gaze. The silence stretches like a rubber band ready to snap. "That's nice, dear," Mom finally says, in the same tone she used when I showed her my kindergarten finger paintings. "Though I still don't understand why you couldn't finish your business degree first." I swallow hard, tasting copper. 12 years of building my company from scratch, and they still see me as their wayward daughter playing at success. The company's valued at over 180 million now. We're expanding into 3 new markets next quarter. Dad's fork clatters against his plate. "You're still uneducated, Sutton. Playing pretend with laptops and cafes. When are you going to get a real job?" The words hit like a physical blow, but I keep my spine straight. Years of practice have taught me how to weather these storms without flinching. My company employs 78 people, Dad. We're helping small businesses access capital they... Lucky, Mom interrupts, reaching for the salt shaker. "You're just lucky, that's all. Not successful. There's a difference." My chest tightens. I focus on breathing, on maintaining the careful mask I've perfected over years of these dinners. Through the window, I can see the same maple tree I used to climb as a child, its branches now bare against the November sky. "I should go," I say quietly, pushing back from the table. "Thank you for dinner." "Yes, you should." Dad's voice cuts like ice. "Get out of our house, you're an embarrassment." 3 years ago, those words would have shattered me. Now they simply confirm what I've always known but tried to deny. I stand, smoothing my cashmere sweater. "Okay." That's all I say. Just okay. The walk to the front door feels longer than usual. Each step echoes with memories. Dad ripping up my business plan right here in the foyer. Mom's constant comparisons to real success stories. Their dismissive waves when I left college to pursue my first venture. I drive away from their middle-class neighborhood in my modest sedan, passing the local bank that denied my first loan application. My phone lights up with messages from my team about a major contract we've just landed. The contrast between my family's rejection and my team's celebration creates a hollow ache in my chest. At a stoplight, I catch my reflection in the rearview mirror. I look exactly as I did walking into their house an hour ago, polished, professional, put together. But something has shifted beneath the surface, like a foundation crack finally spreading wide enough to bring down a wall. The light turns green. As I accelerate, my phone buzzes again, another message about our expansion plans. My team is waiting, celebrating, building something extraordinary. Meanwhile, my parents sit in their dated dining room, clinging to their narrow definition of success, blind to the empire rising just beyond their view. I think of all the dinners like this one, spread across a decade of attempting to bridge an unbridgeable gap, of my father's dismissive glances and my mother's backhanded compliments, of the constant requirement to make myself smaller, dimmer, less successful to maintain their comfort. But tonight feels different. Tonight, the rubber band didn't just stretch, it snapped. I pull onto the highway as the sun sets behind me, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. My father's words echo in my head. "Get out of our house. You're an embarrassment." For the first time, I feel neither shame nor anger at his rejection. Instead, I feel something unexpected. Relief. They've made their choice. Now I'm making mine. The highway stretches before me, leading away from their small world toward the vast horizon of possibility they've never been able to see. In my rearview mirror, their neighborhood grows smaller until it disappears completely. I touch my grandmother's watch, its familiar weight grounding me. She was the only one who ever believed in me, who saw beyond the confines of their traditional expectations. "Build your own path," she used to tell me, "even if you have to walk it alone." My phone buzzes one more time, another celebration message from my team. I allow myself a small smile as I merge onto the interstate. Sometimes the hardest endings are really beginnings in disguise. Sometimes walking away is the only way to finally stand tall. And sometimes, just sometimes, an embarrassment becomes an empire. Welcome to mine. Later that night, the gates of Pelican Bay slide open silently as I approach, their wrought iron scrollwork catching the last rays of sunset. My car glides past manicured gardens and swaying palms, a world away from my parents' cramped suburban street. 3 years ago, when I bought this place, I almost sent them the listing, another futile attempt to prove my worth. I'm glad now that I didn't. Welcome home, Miss Merrick. The house system greets me as I enter the foyer. Soft lights illuminate the space automatically, and the evening's financial reports project onto the living room's smart glass wall. The Dow is down, but our latest algorithm caught the dip perfectly. I pause at my wall of achievements, not for vanity, but for grounding. Forbes, 40 under 40, Fast Company's most innovative companies, the Wall Street Journal profile that called our fintech platform revolutionary. My father would probably mistake them for cheap decorations from Home Goods. My home office beckons, its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the dark water of the Gulf. 6 screens pulse with real-time market data, tracking our operations across 3 continents. A text from Thomas flashes on my phone. Team breakfast tomorrow? The expansion numbers look incredible. I smile, thinking of my COO's unwavering support since our startup days in that cramped WeWork space. Back when my father was telling everyone I was between real jobs, Thomas was securing our first round of angel funding. Would you like your evening tea, Miss Merrick? Carmen, my chef, appears quietly at the door. She's been with me for 2 years, ever since I finally admitted that living on protein bars wasn't sustainable. Yes, please. And can you prepare breakfast for 8 tomorrow? The executive team's coming at 7:30. Of course. Your usual steel-cut oats and berries? I nod, grateful for her simple understanding of my preferences. No judgment, no passive-aggressive suggestions about proper meals like my mother's. Morning arrives with the kind of golden light that makes Sarasota feel magical. My executive team filters in, dressed in everything from suits to hoodies, exactly the culture I've worked to create. They gather around my breakfast table, diving into Carmen's perfectly prepared spread. The quiet billionaire strikes again. Sarah, my CFO, teases as I pad in wearing my favorite Allbirds sneakers and a simple black dress. Did you see the latest valuation numbers? Thomas shoots her a knowing look. She probably calculated them before any of us woke up. They're right, of course. My 41% stake in the company puts my net worth well into the billions, at least on paper. Not that I'd ever tell my parents that. They'd either dismiss it as fake or demand their fair share. The meeting shifts to our headquarters downtown, a converted warehouse space that feels more like a community than an office. The lobby wall showcases photos of our team building houses with Habitat for Humanity, teaching coding at local schools, celebrating product launches together. Open Door Wednesday is in full swing. Junior developers and interns pop into my modest office, pitching ideas without fear. On my desk, surrounded by minimalist decor, sits my one indulgence, a first edition Hemingway, The Old Man and the Sea, a reminder that the greatest struggles often happen in silence. Your father would never allow this chaos. My mother's voice echoes in my head as I listen to a young analyst's passionate pitch about blockchain integration. I push the thought away, focusing instead on the brilliant spark in the analyst's eyes. Evening finds me on my private balcony, the Gulf of Mexico stretching endless and dark before me. My tablet displays old family photos, birthdays, holidays, forced smiles hiding constant criticism. A single tear escapes before I can catch it. My gratitude journal lies open beside me, today's entries still blank. I pick up my pen. Grateful for the team that became family, the strength found in rejection, the freedom to build without permission, the peace in choosing myself. My phone buzzes. Margaret, my former professor turned mentor, the only parental figure who ever truly saw me. Heard about the investment round, she says warmly. Proud of you, kid. Always knew you'd change the world your way. I grip the phone tighter, thinking of all the young entrepreneurs who faced the same battles I did. The ones told to dream smaller, to conform, to accept limitations placed by others. The sun disappears completely, leaving me alone with the sound of waves and the weight of everything I've built. In my mind, I hear my father's voice again. You're an embarrassment. I look out at my empire, the home, the company, the life they never saw and would never understand. The question isn't whether I'm an embarrassment to them. The question is, what would you build if you knew no one could stop you? I already have my answer. It's everything they see as failure. And it's magnificent. 2 weeks later, the morning light streams through our boardroom's floor-to-ceiling windows, catching the dust motes that dance above our expansion plans. I'm mid-sentence about our Asian market strategy when my phone lights up again. Avery's name flashes across the screen for the fourth time in 30 minutes. As you can see from these projections, my voice falters as the phone buzzes again. Thomas catches my eye, giving me a slight nod. "Take 5, everyone," he suggests, already standing. The team files out, leaving me alone with the persistent glow of my sister's calls. Avery. I keep my voice neutral, professional. The sob that comes through the speaker is anything but. "Sutton, you have to help. Mom's been crying for days. Dad's account is frozen. They're losing the house." My stomach tightens, but my hand remains steady as I pull up my tablet. "Slow down, what happened?" "Some investment thing. Dad says it was guaranteed returns, but now the company's being investigated for fraud and..." She breaks off, hiccuping. "They put everything into it." Everything. The words hit like ice water. Of course they did. Because my father, who lectured me about real investment versus playing with computers, would never admit he didn't understand something. After the call, I spend my lunch hour researching the scheme. Continental Asset Protection, a fraudulent insurance investment program promising 12% annual returns. They'd taken my parents' retirement savings, their home equity, everything they'd built over 40 years. My personal phone shows 16 missed calls from their number. The text from my father lands like a body blow. "We need help. Just a small loan to cover property tax. We'll pay you back." I stare at those words, remembering every dismissive comment about my little computer project. Every holiday dinner where they acted like my success was a personal affront. Every time they told relatives I was still finding myself while I was building a company worth millions. My fingers hover over the keyboard before typing, "Business, not personal, rates apply." The siege begins slowly, then builds like a hurricane. Aunt Marie calls first, her voice dripping with practiced guilt. "They're old school, Sutton. They didn't mean it like that. Your father's pride. You know how he is." "Yes," I reply coolly. "I do know exactly how he is." My cousin's social media posts appear next. Vague statements about family responsibility and honoring thy father and mother. Each one tagged with my name. Each one more pointed than the last. My brother-in-law leaves a voicemail that makes my assistant gasp when she screens it. Something about Christian duty and burning bridges. I delete it without listening to the end. "You don't understand what they're going through." Aunt Marie tries again. "I've forgiven them," I tell her, watching the market ticker scroll across my office wall. "But I'm not responsible for them." The call from building security comes 3 days later, while I'm reviewing quarterly reports. "Ma'am, there's an older couple downstairs claiming to be your parents. They don't have approval for entry." My heart stutters as I pull up the security feed. There they are, standing awkwardly in my building's marble lobby. My mother clutches a photo album to her chest, the one full of carefully curated happy memories. My father holds what looks like one of her homemade apple pies, the kind she used to make when she wanted something from me. They look smaller somehow, out of place among the sleek furniture and modern art. My mother's cardigan is slightly faded. My father's shoulders stooped in a way I've never seen before. "I'm not available," I tell security, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "Unapproved guests are not allowed." I watch them leave through the revolving door, their reflections fragmenting in the glass. The pie tilts precariously in my father's grip. My mother's hand reaches out to steady it, always trying to fix his mistakes even now. Thomas appears in my doorway as their car pulls away. He doesn't ask if I'm okay. Instead, he says, "The Singapore team is ready for our call." I nod, grateful for the anchor of work, the solid ground of the life I've built. On my desk, next to the Hemingway, sits the framed article that started all this, the announcement of our $8.3 million investment round. The one my father had dismissed as beginner's luck. My phone buzzes with another text from Avery. "They just wanted to talk. You could have at least seen them." I think of all the times I wanted to talk, all the times I needed them to see me, All the moments they chose their pride over their daughter. I'm in meetings all day. I text back, then silence my phone. The Singapore team is waiting. The markets are moving. Life goes on, whether they understand it or not. And sometimes, forgiveness means loving yourself enough to keep walking forward, even when the people behind you are calling you back. The email arrives at 3 a.m. 3 days later, its notification light pulsing in my darkened bedroom like a distress signal. Subject line: "We made mistakes. Please read." Sender: Mom. I wait until morning, until I'm settled at my desk with coffee and market reports. Thomas's daily briefing sits untouched beside me as I finally click open the message. Dearest Sutton, remember the treehouse Dad built you when you were 7? You'd sit up there for hours with your calculator and notebook, already planning your future. We thought it was just playing. We should have seen you were building dreams. I found these photos yesterday. Attached are scanned images. Me at my first science fair clutching a blue ribbon for my cryptocurrency simulation model. My high school graduation, where I'd announced I was skipping college to start my company. Family Christmas 3 years ago, the last one before everything imploded. The email continues, dancing around any direct acknowledgement of harm, weaving nostalgia with careful omissions. No mention of Dad calling my business plan pixie dust and wishful thinking. No reference to the dinner where Mom suggested I get a real job, while my seed funding announcement sat unread on their counter. The closing paragraph twists the knife. We'd love to visit your new place by the lake. It looks so peaceful in those magazine photos. Remember how we used to take you girls swimming every summer? Family meant everything then. I read it twice, my coffee growing cold. The manipulation is artful. She's always been good at that, painting pretty pictures over ugly truths. My fingers hover over the keyboard before I forward the entire thread to my assistant with 2 words. Archive. No reply. The lobby call comes the next day. Miss Merrick, your sister Avery is here. She doesn't have an appointment. I glance through the glass walls of my office. The trading floor buzzes with activity, analysts moving between screens displaying real-time market data. Our latest algorithm just cleared beta testing. I'll come down. Avery stands out among the suits and sleek dresses, her teacher's casual wear marking her as clearly as her anxious posture. Several employees pretend not to watch as I approach. This isn't appropriate, I say quietly. Neither is ghosting your family. Her voice carries, drawing more attention. They're going to lose everything, Sutton. Lower your voice. I guide her toward a side corridor, away from curious eyes. They chose to invest without research. Actions have consequences. They're telling everyone you abandoned them. Aunt Marie says you've changed, that success has made you cold. Success didn't change me, Avery. It revealed me, and them. Her face crumples. How can you be so calculating about this? Because someone has to be. Did you know Dad refused financial advice from my CFO last year? Called it millennial nonsense and went with that scam instead. He was trying to protect their retirement. Number. He was protecting his pride. There's a difference. Later that week, I sit in Dr. Warner's office, watching storm clouds gather over the city skyline. I've spent a decade seeking their approval, I tell her, tracing the leather grain of her couch. Building something extraordinary, hoping they'd finally see me. And now? She asks. Now I'm tired. Every achievement becomes another weapon for them to use against me. Every success is luck, or that computer thing, or proof I've forgotten my roots. She lets the silence stretch, then asks, what would happen if you accepted they'll never give you that approval? The question hits like a thunderclap. I think of all the energy I've spent translating my world into terms they might understand. All the holiday dinners spent defending basic business concepts. All the carefully carved space I kept for them in my life, even as they filled it with doubt and dismissal. Then I'd be free, I whisper, and the truth of it brings tears I didn't expect. The magazine cover drops 2 weeks later. The photographer had captured me at dawn, barefoot on my lake house balcony, the morning light turning everything to gold. My coffee mug, a gift from Thomas, reads, self-funded in bold letters. The headline above my head declares, no degree, no apology, just results. The article tells my story plainly. Small-town girl builds $180 million fintech empire without venture capital or family support. It quotes my TED Talk about algorithmic trading democratization. It mentions the scholarship foundation I've started for young women in tech. The group text from my extended family lights up within hours. Aunt Marie, a little humility goes a long way, Sutton. Uncle James, your father built houses for 40 years, that's real work. Mom, we just want our daughter back. I read their words once, then delete the thread. Through my office window, I can see a young intern giving her first presentation to the trading team. Her hands shake slightly as she points to her projections, but her voice is clear and confident. I think of Caroline, Avery's daughter, who sent me a private message last week asking about coding boot camps, who signs her emails future CEO and doesn't let her parents know we talk. The storm clouds have passed. The lake will be perfect for swimming this weekend, its waters clear and cool. I'll sit on my balcony with my self-funded mug and watch the sun rise over my choices, my peace, my truth. Sometimes the hardest part isn't building your dreams. It's protecting them from the people who should have helped you build them in the first place. A month later, on the day we finally wrapped up the project, the champagne flows freely in our main conference room, developers and analysts mingling as we celebrate landing the Goldman contract. Thomas raises his glass, pride evident in his gesture toward the team that made it happen. To democratizing fintech, one algorithm at a time. My phone vibrates against the marble conference table. Another email from Mom. The subject line is simpler this time. We were wrong. I excuse myself, sliding past congratulatory huddles to reach my office. The city sparkles beyond my windows, a testament to possibilities realized. I take a deep breath and open the message. Dear Sutton, we've spent weeks trying to find the right words. Your father and I know now that we failed you, not just recently but throughout your journey. Our pride and fear blinded us to your vision. If there's any space for us again in your life, we'd be grateful for the chance to learn, to understand, to be present in whatever way you'd allow. We love you. Mom. Everything okay? Thomas appears in my doorway, concern etched on his features. He's known me long enough to read the subtle tension in my shoulders. They're trying again. I turn my screen toward him, more direct this time. He scans the message, jaw tightening. Thanksgiving 3 years ago. Remember? I do. The memory rises unbidden, Dad interrupting my investor pitch practice to lecture about honest work, while Mom nodded along, both of them talking over my attempts to explain market algorithms. I'd left early, their dismissal following me into the cold November night. Yeah. I minimize the email. Different words, same song. What are you thinking? He leans against my desk, protective as always. I'm thinking I need some perspective. The next morning, I sit across from Dr. Warner, watching rain trace patterns down her office windows. What would boundaries look like? She asks after I share the email. If you were to consider allowing them back into your life? I've thought about this during sleepless nights. They'd need to respect my work, my choices. No more dismissive comments about computer money or luck. No financial entanglement. I pause. And they'd need to acknowledge the harm, really acknowledge it, not just gesture at it. And do you believe they're capable of meeting those requirements? The rain intensifies, drumming against glass. No, I whisper. I don't. That evening, I meet Marion, my former professor and longtime mentor, at our usual wine bar. She listens intently as I explain the situation, swirling her Cabernet thoughtfully. Forgiveness is for you, she says finally. It lightens your load, clears your path forward. But access? She sets down her glass. Access is earned through consistent respect and genuine change. Don't confuse the two. Back home, I sit on my lake house balcony with my journal, the same one I've kept since starting my company. Its pages hold every milestone, every setback, every moment of doubt and triumph. I begin to write. Dear Mom and Dad, I've spent years translating myself into a language you could understand, only to realize you never wanted to learn it. Every achievement became another reason to diminish me. Every success triggered another lecture about real work and staying humble. You didn't just doubt my dreams, you actively worked to discourage them. And when those dreams proved stronger than your doubt, you labeled me cold, ungrateful, changed. But I haven't changed. I've simply stopped apologizing for who I've always been. The words flow faster now, truth spilling onto paper. I write through sunset, through darkness, until the lake reflects moonlight like scattered diamonds. In the morning, I craft my final email. I've read your message carefully. You say you want to understand now, to learn, to be present. But understanding requires humility. Learning demands genuine curiosity. Presence means accepting reality rather than trying to reshape it. You taught me what it means to be unwanted. I've learned what it means to want myself anyway. I forgive you, but forgiveness doesn't include access. You won't be part of this chapter because you tore out the pages yourselves. Sutton, CEO, self-made. My finger hovers over the send button. Through my office windows, I can see our development team arriving, their energy palpable even from here. We're launching a new feature today, one that will help thousands of small investors build safer futures. I press send, then immediately block their addresses. Later that afternoon, I meet with my lawyers to establish a modest trust fund for my parents. The terms are clear. Monthly stipend for basic needs, managed by a third party, no direct contact required or permitted. Avery calls within hours. "You're being cruel," she says, voice thick with accusation. "They need you. They need security, not me. I've provided one without sacrificing the other. Is this really what success looks like to you, cutting off your own parents?" No, Avery. Success looks like peace. Like building something meaningful without constantly defending its worth. I pause, thinking of Caroline and her quiet dreams. Success looks like breaking cycles instead of perpetuating them. The line goes quiet. When she speaks again, her voice is smaller. "I don't understand you anymore." "You never did. That's not your fault. You weren't supposed to. You were supposed to follow the script they wrote. I just chose to write my own." After we hang up, silence settles over my office like fresh snow. No more calls, no more emails, no more emotional warfare disguised as family obligation. I pick up my self-funded mug and walk to the window. Below, a young developer is showing her mother around our office, gesturing excitedly at her workspace. The mother beams with genuine pride, asking questions, learning her daughter's language. Some dreams need protection from the very people who should have helped build them. But other dreams? They find the right gardeners, the ones who understand that growth requires both roots and wings. I touch the cool glass, my reflection overlaying the city beyond. In it, I see the 7-year-old girl in her treehouse, already knowing her path. She smiles, finally free. 6 months can change everything, or nothing at all. Standing at the podium of our foundation's first scholarship ceremony, I watch 5 young women receive their startup grants, each clutching their ceremonial check with the same fierce pride I once held my first investment contract. Dreams shouldn't depend on zip codes or last names, I tell the packed auditorium. They should depend on grit, vision, and the courage to bet on yourself when no one else will. From the front row, Thomas gives me a subtle nod. He knows the weight behind these words, has watched me transform rejection into revolution over the past half year. Our educational platform, Self-Made Academy, launched last month with 10,000 signups in the first week. Every lecture I record feels like a letter to my younger self, each module a roadmap I wish I'd had. After the ceremony, one of our grant recipients approaches, hands still shaking slightly. "Miss Merrick? I'm Jessica Chen. My parents wanted me to become a pharmacist, but I've been coding since I was 12. I recognize the tension in her shoulders, the careful way she holds herself, as if expecting her dreams to be dismissed at any moment. "Tell me about your startup," I say, leading her toward the refreshment area. Her eyes light up as she describes her AI-driven personal finance app for first-generation immigrants. "My father calls it my expensive hobby," she adds, voice dropping, "says I'm throwing away my degree. My father called my first algorithm computer games." I share, watching understanding dawn in her expression. Now that algorithm manages billions in transactions. Sometimes the people closest to us are the last to see our vision clearly. "How did you?" She hesitates. "How did you keep going?" I stopped waiting for permission to believe in myself. I hand her my card. "Call my office Monday. We'll set up some mentoring sessions." Later that evening, I'm reviewing applications for our next grant cycle when Thomas drops by with takeout from our favorite Thai place. "Productive day?" he asks, distributing containers across my desk. 5 more founders launch toward their dreams, I say, reaching for the pad thai. Plus, the educational platform hit 15,000 users this morning. He settles into his usual chair, tie loosened. Avery called the office again. My chopsticks pause halfway to my mouth. Same message? Caroline's graduation next month. She wants you there. I set down my food, appetite fading. And? And your parents won't attend if you're going. Apparently they're still. He searches for the right word. Hurt? I supply. Wounded? Victimized by their own consequences? Something like that. He studies me carefully. What are you thinking? I turn to my window wall where the city lights mirror the stars above. I'm thinking about Caroline. About breaking cycles. The next morning, I send Caroline a private message. Your dreams matter more than their comfort. Your path belongs to you. I won't attend your graduation, not because I don't want to, but because your moment shouldn't be overshadowed by their drama. Instead, I've arranged something else. Check your email. I attach the details of her surprise. Acceptance into our summer entrepreneurship program, complete with housing and a stipend. Her response comes within minutes. Thank you for seeing me. The morning's meetings blur together until my quarterly lunch with Marion. Over grilled salmon and asparagus, I update her on the foundation's progress. You've built quite the legacy these past months, she observes, though not the kind your parents would recognize. No, I agree. Not their kind of legacy at all. She takes a thoughtful sip of wine. And how are you? Really? I consider the question, thinking back to those turbulent family dinners, those tear-filled phone calls, those constant demands for validation I could never quite provide. I'm at peace. I realize, truly at peace. It shows, she says softly. You're not carrying them anymore. That evening, I lead a virtual masterclass for our platform's members. Hundreds of faces fill my screen, each representing a dream that someone, somewhere, probably told them to abandon. I share my journey, not the sanitized version, but the real one, complete with family rejection and lonely victories. Success isn't just about numbers. I tell them. It's about building something that aligns with your truth, even when that truth makes others uncomfortable. It's about choosing yourself repeatedly until it becomes natural. A question pops up in the chat. How do you deal with family who don't support your vision? I smile, thinking of Jessica Chen, of Caroline, of my younger self. You love them enough to let them be wrong about you. After the class, I walk through our empty office, past the wall where we display our founders' successes. 5 new photos join the collection this week. Women who refuse to shrink their dreams to fit others' expectations. In their eyes, I see the same determination that once drove me to build this company from my studio apartment, fueled by rejection and ramen noodles. My phone buzzes with a text from Thomas. Dinner tomorrow? New Italian place on 5th? Only if you're ready to hear about my next big idea, I reply. Always am. 7 p.m. I look out at the city I've helped reshape, at the legacy I'm building not through obligation but through choice. Perfect, I text back. I'll bring the blueprints. The peace that settled into my bones these past 6 months isn't the quiet of surrender. It's the calm of knowing exactly who I am and choosing to be that person completely. No apologies, no compromises, no permission required. Some might call it cold, some might call it cruel, but I call it clarity, the kind that only comes when you stop trying to translate your dreams into a language they were never meant to speak. I gather my things, ready to head home. Tomorrow brings another day of building, teaching, leading, another day of showing others that their dreams don't need family approval to be valid. Another day of living the truth I had to learn the hard way. Sometimes the greatest act of love is letting go of the people who can't love you as you are.